Hi, I'm Danyelle Campbell and I'm here at Busby Quarter Horses in Millsap, Texas. And right now I want to go over my horse's body positioning and where I want them to take their feet going around the barrel. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you the square, how I kind of make my turn a square. Now anybody who's used to seeing me or my horses or watch them work, most of my horses have quite a bit of bend and a lot of forward motion through their turns. So when I say the term square, people kind of scratch their head. They get a little confused because it's not a circle, it's a square, which means stiff. But I'm going to show you how I do it and how I incorporate bend into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is show it to you in a very dramatic sense, so you can see the true square. Now understand, this is just to explain it to you. This is not how I actually do it. But when I start out, kind of depending on where you are in the country, back here in Texas and on the east, we have a lot of small arenas with center alleys. So therefore, the alleys lined up with the third barrel, so that's kind of where you start, and then you pick your angle. Out in California, there's a lot of big arenas where you walk in and set up. So no matter what, I just kind of have to pick my place of where I want to start, but more importantly, I look where I want to end up. And for the most part, that's probably with about a 15 to 20 foot pocket on the first barrel. And I try to go at just a slight angle to it, meaning I'm not going to go straight down the pin to my pocket, but I'm also not going to go at such a severe angle across that when I get there, my horse's shoulders drop down and their hips to the outside. So again, this is going to be a demonstration of the square and the points that I get my horses to before they're allowed to make their first move. So I'm not going to really do anything with her head at this point except show you the square. So before I let them start their turn, I'm going to get their hip to it right there. And I'm stopping just to explain and to again show you. Now we're going to get into geometry again because we're going to talk about 90-degree angles. For those of you that don't know, it's like the letter L. It's where you make a sharp turn, okay? So we're going to get right here, tell her hips to the barrel, and then I'm going to turn her at a 90, hold on, we got an itch. She's a little bit of a queen princess here. Okay, so at this point we're going to turn 90 degrees and go straight, tell her hips at the barrel. At this point, I'm going to turn 90 degrees, and it's really important that at this right here, I'm not thinking of finishing the turn. My style of training is I try to prevent anticipation. I don't want them to anticipate starting their turn or finishing their turn. So it's very important not to let them cut these corners. So I'm going to bring her a couple more steps, tell her hips at this barrel, and at this point, she's allowed to finish it. And I always step them over a little bit, and then I go straight to my pocket. I don't go up and move out. I want straight lines straight to my spots. So I'm gonna bring her up here all the way till her hips. Right now, I probably have about an 8-foot pocket, I'd say. I'm gonna bring her till her hip is at this barrel. And then she gets to turn 90 degrees. And these are just imaginary spots on the ground that I look at. Like, I look ahead of me, but as a guideline for most people, I say take their hip to the barrel. That way they kind of have an idea of where they're going. Again, when I get here, I'm not thinking of going to the third barrel. I'm thinking of getting all the way around the second. So I'm gonna turn her right back towards the first, tell her hips at the barrel, and now she's allowed to go to the third, okay? Perfectly straight line all the way up into my pocket. And as we're walking up here, I'll say, I never ever let my horses start their turn in training when they get to it. It doesn't matter if I have a free running horse without much rate or I have a ratey horse. I always come till their hips to the barrel, okay? Now we're gonna go straight across 90 degrees, and now we're allowed to finish. Okay, so now I'm gonna do that the proper way. I'm gonna take her feet in those exact same spots, but I'm gonna do it with bend and softness in her body. That was just to show you the steps that I take around a barrel, and I focus on getting their feet there. And I do that by looking ahead and knowing in my brain where my spots are. It's important to remember when barrel racing and driving a car, your hands follow your eyes. Ever notice if you're driving or riding a bike and you look off at something, before you know it, you're going that way. Barrel racing's the same thing. So always look ahead at where you want to go. Don't look down, don't look behind you, look ahead. So here I'm going to ask my horse with a little inside leg and rein to get soft. And I'm going to stick right here to this same pattern, but keeping her round and moving forward to get her hip to the barrels. Come all the way around with bend. I don't let her flatten out and take her head from me. I want her to hold that bend all the way around. That's what's going to hold her shoulder up throughout the turn and allow her to keep driving forward. I'm going to ask her to get soft, but not allow her to turn until her hip's at the barrel. Same thing, I'm going to go back towards the first a couple steps and then let her finish. Straight up to the third. This is how I eliminate horses that want to get bracy in their turn, horses that want to anticipate. You can kind of get them soft. See how I ask her to get soft but don't allow her to turn? And I keep her in a straight line. I'm not counter-arcing her. I keep her body in a straight line going to the barrel, even if I bend. And I think that's a missing step in a lot of people's programs. I'm going to demonstrate that for you as soon as I get up here. A lot of people, if they're going in a straight line and they kind of go to pick their horse up, they actually want them to step away and counter-arc. I think it's really important. See, I'm not letting her move away. I'm keeping her in a straight line, but keeping her body soft. I'll turn around and do it the other way from behind for you guys. So many of us, we get our horses to where when they feel inside rein pressure, they move out like that. And I mean, it's good for a horse to know to do that, but that shouldn't be their go-to move, because when you're running barrels and you just want to get them soft, all of a sudden before you know it, you've got a 20-foot pocket at the third barrel, you know, so you don't want that. You want a horse to pick up their shoulders, but without moving their body to the outside, unless you actually guide them in that direction. So again, really practice, and if it's hard for you or your horse, a good way to do this is to do it against the fence. So if I had a fence right here, that would hold me from stepping over to the right. So my horse would have to stay on this straight line. So if you have to use a little cheater like a fence, don't be afraid to do it. But again, I feel like it's something that's missing out of a lot of people's programs. It's very, very important. Another thing on the barrel pattern is rate points. If I'm going to rate a horse, usually I'll still rate when their hip's there. If I have a horse that's free, I might rate them as they approach. Like let's say right as their head gets there, I'll ask them to stop or slow down, get off of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take them right back to the normal point for me, which is when their hip's there. The reason I do this is, again, I don't want a horse to anticipate the rate. Horses tell you throughout their training what they need or don't need, but I'm gonna start out by giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're gonna be turny, and I want a horse to run all the way up to the barrel, very honest, very straight, and their first move is I want them to get soft in their body and get on their butt. So a lot of what I do is taking the anticipation out by that horse that runs to the barrel and gets strong and pushy, and they want to turn, but they're going about it in the wrong way. They're actually getting to the barrel and they're pushing down with their head and they're lengthening their stride trying to turn instead of going up there, getting back and coming back to you. So all of this of getting their hip up there and working on softness does that. Ironically, the more you take a horse up and kind of stop them real hard and get after them, the more anxiety they're gonna have and the stronger they'll usually get going to a turn. So just to kind of speed this up and trot, I'm gonna ask her to get soft right here before she can start her turn. And then I'm just gonna ask her to hold, kind of like circles we did in the other segment. I'm just gonna set this inside hand in one spot and I'm just gonna ask her to turn. One thing I failed to say a second ago, so I'll talk about right now. Barrel racing for me is all about how a horse finishes the barrel. And I feel like a barrel race is won or lost in how you leave a barrel. Like even a slow horse that can't run real fast can win if they use everything they've got in how to leave a barrel. In order to leave a barrel properly and fast, you have to set your horse up correctly going into it. So the whole reason I do this on my approach and throughout the turn is setting them up for that last move. And when I say that last move, what I mean is having this horse's body, again, I want her front end up, I want her inside hind leg under her driving, and when she gets to the last point, that's when she knows it's time to go. And I will do that from the first time I start a horse on the barrels. Even if she's pretty, like if she hears that come out of my mouth, she knows it's go time. So she's very responsive. But again, like I want a horse to be calm and patient. I don't believe in fast turns, I believe in fast getaways. So what I want to do is teach my horse to turn quiet, calm. I want him to relax, melt, and come back to me when I get to the barrel. And it's not about speed yet. It's about relaxation and softness. All the way up through here, take her feet all the way to my points. Don't let her anticipate finishing, but right there when she hits that last point, it's time for her to accelerate. And if I have her body set up, she's able to do that. So for me, the approach is what sets up how you leave a turn, and that's what's gonna make it fast. And I achieve that by forward motion and keeping the weight off the front end. And again, I usually stay about this far from the barrels when I work. I don't work them super tight and I don't work them super wide, because I think you lose correct body positioning when your circle gets smaller, and I think that they lose focus on the turn and the drive you need if your circle gets too big.